Hello, and welcome to the newsroom from the BBC World Service with me, Emilio San Pedro. The authorities in East Asia are battling to control the spread of the coronavirus, suspending schools, religious gatherings, and theme parks across South Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, and, of course, China. There's been a spike in new confirmed cases in South Korea, in the country's southeast, taking the current total to over 2,000. Well, Laura Bicker is in Seoul, and she joins us now. Laura, there have been a number of developments there since we last spoke 24 hours ago, haven't there?
We now have 2,022 cases, and that number is expected to climb. 13 people are dead. Within the last few hours, we've heard from Hyundai Motors. This is the major plant, one of the biggest motor plants down in the world, which is down near the Daegu area, probably about 50 to 60 kilometres from the Daegu area. A worker there has been diagnosed with coronavirus, which means that they've had to close part of its production line. 4,000 staff have been sent home. Also, the outbreak is centred around the Shincheonji Church of Jesus. This is a minority religious sect with about 220,000 members across Korea. The Daegu city has now filed charges against the head of the local Shincheonji Church. They are accused of violating South Korea's Infectious Diseases Control and Prevention Act by failing to provide a full list of members and thereby hampering efforts in the region to fight the virus. Meanwhile, a number of concerts have been called off here. BTS, one of the biggest boy bands in the world, and a South Korean boy band at that, they have cancelled their concerts in Seoul in April.
And Laura, what about away from South Korea? What's happening elsewhere in the region?
Well, in Japan, they closed down Tokyo Disneyland until April. Also, all schools, all state schools across Japan have been closed, and that was by the Prime Minister Abe made that announcement. The main efforts are being concentrated in Hokkaido, which is the northern island of Japan, where the majority of cases and the majority of deaths have been. And one of the concerns there is that it has had an outbreak. There has been an outbreak at a number of schools in Hokkaido. The other thing to know about Hokkaido is it stays cold there until April, and many experts have wondered that when this cold season ends, perhaps the virus will begin to dissipate. However, Hokkaido stays cold for some time. In North Korea, north of where I am, where we're not sure whether they have coronavirus or not, it's very, very difficult to know whether or not North Korea has coronavirus because we have no eyes and ears on the ground, and all foreigners have been locked in. We know that the World Health Organization today has been granted sanctions exemption to take medical equipment into the country.
Laura Bicker in Seoul, thank you. As we've just heard there, the coronavirus has now spread well beyond China to 47 countries, putting pressure on businesses and supply chains around the world. Global stock markets are reflecting the financial impact of the infection, tumbling for the sixth consecutive day. On Thursday, New York's Dow Jones Index saw its biggest one-day drop in points in its history on Thursday, losing nearly 4.5% of its value, and that downward trend is continuing with Japan's Nikkei Index also plunging nearly 3% when it opened. Our correspondent in Washington, Chris Buckler, told me more about how much concern there is in the U.S. about the impact of the coronavirus on the markets and the wider economy.
You take a look at the stock market, and President Trump has looked at it before you. He is very concerned about the economy doing well, and he sees the stock market as a big indicator of that. And certainly, the falls that we are seeing now gives a real indication that businesses, investors are concerned that this is a problem that is going to be around for some time. These short-term suggestions from President Trump that this can be dealt with, that America is going to be fine, it doesn't feel like companies are listening, and they have also got global concerns as well as concerns inside the borders of the US. But it is clear that they believe that there is not going to be what they thought could be potentially short-term problems with coronavirus, but rather long-term ones that could be damaging to the economy and, of course, could affect public health. And also, there has been a real sense that actually, although President Trump was saying America is prepared, there have been indications that that isn't the case. America is only really now getting itself in a position where it can be aware and ready to tackle this virus should it become a problem.
And President Trump has come under criticism from leading Democrats, including the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Here's what she had to say about it earlier.
Unfortunately, up until now, the Trump administration has mounted an opaque and often chaotic response to this outbreak. They left critical positions vacant in charge of managing pandemics at the National Security Council and the Department of Homeland Security. They left them vacant. The Trump budget calls for slashing almost $700 million from the Center for Disease Control.
Nancy Pelosi there calling the Trump administration's handling of this coronavirus issue as opaque and chaotic. Clearly, Chris, the White House is under pressure to handle this well.
There is a feeling that the White House is trying to limit what is being said, for them specifically to try and get a hold of the communication that is going to the public. So, for example, one of the leading doctors who normally speaks about infectious diseases, he has to get permission now from the White House to speak about all of these issues. And it gives you a sense that they're trying to get a control of it. And, of course, President Trump has said many positive things about this, but really they have to be prepared for dealing with this problem. And certainly one of the comments that he's made in the last couple of hours, which he said that he believed that one day there could be a miracle that it will disappear. I don't think that's going to be something that people take very seriously. And in reality, his experts are saying it is going to be a year or a year and a half before there is a vaccine ready.
Chris Buckler.